Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joel Simmons for another episode of It Starts With Me. I'm so glad to be here with you on today. We're going to have a great show. We have a young lady here by the name of Olivia Cook, and she is going to bring us an awesome testimony. But not just that, she's got a wealth of knowledge and understanding and wisdom. And she's so young. It's so amazing. I I adore her. So this is going to be a great show. Anyway, let's talk about a few other things. On Monday nights, we have Monday night motivation with Mike. All right. So that motivational night where you all know, for those of y'all who have switched over to his channel, you know, he doesn't even like to call it motivation. He just likes to give information raw, and he loves to be a help and an asset to all those that are listening. So check him out, 9 p.m. Eastern. All right. And then, of course, today, 12:30, every single Wednesday, we have It Starts With Me, and we are interviewing many different people of different backgrounds, various backgrounds that have that and various influences that are able to bring what they have gone through some type of transition inside their life through positive mindset and taking hold of time and chance to make the best version of himself emerge. So please be here with us every single Wednesday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And then on Friday, yes, on Friday, we will be back again for the Community Beacon, where Mike Seville and myself are hosting this wonderful show. I think we've been having a great time. We're somewhere around like 30 something shows. So we're still in the infancy stage, I suppose, maybe like toddlers, but we're having a great time. And if you go back and look at our older shows and bring it forward, you will see that there's been a lot of changes, but the information, the content is really good. So you can check all of these things out on Spotify, Apple, Google, and also Anchor for all of the podcasts. Those will be there every single Wednesday. And then for everything else, the live streams, you'll be able to catch those on the YouTube channel, and you'll see it streaming at Joel Simmons or at Tenacity Foundation, or you can check out Mike Seville. Anyway, listen, let's get ready to bring Olivia to the front. So let me give you a little bit of a background, a little bit of bio of who she is. She owns her own business, and listen, it's easy to remember what that business is called because it's named after her, Olivia T.M. Cook. Cook Coaching LLC. She's from Illinois. So she is a certified transformational success coach and NLP practitioner. She's a podcast host and motivational speaker. She helps service-based female entrepreneurs and content creators build habits to reach their next level of success, focusing on productivity. That's huge. Mindset. That's huge. And using their menstrual cycles to their benefits. Something that I would not understand, but I'm glad somebody is doing that. Her clients are able to increase their income, reduce their stress levels, and enjoy their success journey. That sounds amazing. You all ought to be booking your session now. Her podcast, the Empowered Woman Badass and Unfiltered, was made to inspire, empower, and educate. It showcases badass women from all over the world, providing tips of personal development, mindset, and healing. She is the co-founder of the motivational Christian brand Relentless Glory. I just love the name of that. A brand whose purpose is to spread the word of God through motivation, education, and praise. Olivia is also a Christian, military wife, and humanitarian. She actively gives back to her community, and you can see her when now. We welcome to the It Starts With Me show through the Tenacity Foundation, Olivia Cook.
Joel, it is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm just so excited.
Yeah, well, so am I. You know, it only took just a few moments for me to realize you'll be a great candidate and a great person to interview on this show. You radiate. You radiate with joy, with passion, with you're real, and I just enjoy that. You're very authentic. So I'm glad to have you here with us.
Thank you. Thank you. I aim to own the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's a lot of that. My story is owning a lot of the ugly parts. So thank you. Thank you for, acknowledging that.
I think that's very powerful, exactly what you're saying, because many times when we're going through different phases inside of our life, it's like we want to forget or we want to omit all the things that have happened to us, you know, possibly our failures, we want to omit those, or we want to omit our downfalls, our setbacks, our challenges. But I believe that those are some of the things that make us the greatest individual. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. We wouldn't learn if we didn't learn the lessons that from the mistakes that we made, from the bad choices we made, then we wouldn't be who we are today. And we really have to learn to grow through what we go through and truly mean that and implement that in our lives. There's so much, I know there's so many people suffering and in pain right now over so many different things. And I was listening to Joyce Meyer's Heavy this morning, and she's not all pain is bad pain. We don't understand it when we're going through it, but we're consistently getting stronger from it and understanding more about who we really are and getting to know ourselves better on this journey of life.
That's powerful. There's a lot of power in acceptance, I believe. And that also comes with true self-awareness. Many people have a struggle in that, and I think that there's a lot of coaches right now that are helping people to gain grounds on self-awareness. I think that that's part of what you do as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I definitely peel back the layers and allow people to be who they were created to be and get rid of the social constructs that they've been conditioned under and really become who they truly are and be their authentic selves. Get through the mindset blocks that make them think that they have to be anything other than who they are, accept their, you know, failures, their mistakes, the things that they feel shame and guilt for as well. We we have to get to a level of acceptance for those things because there's always going to be battles in our life, and I think that's part of how my story is. It's like I understand that there's always going to be battles, but the main purpose is that we having the right mindset, having a learner's mindset rather than a judger's mindset when you're going through trials and adversity will allow you to bounce back and be resilient so much faster.
Now, that was impressive. I love your wordsmithing right there. And I definitely want to jump back in on that again. I don't know if you all caught that out there, but learners versus judgers. And that's really important. I think that we definitely ought to circle back to that. But I do want to ask you, with all this being stated and you talking about your battles, what brought you to become the individual that you are today that can offer this type of help to other people?
I've rebuilt my life multiple times. It first started when I was 20 and I thought I knew everything. And I moved out of my dad's house with my boyfriend at the time. And it was an abusive relationship. And it toxic abusive relationship. And I'm not saying like I'm like the victim because I definitely like hit him back. I definitely was the one. And we honestly we were too young. We did not have the right mindsets or knowledge to be dealing with the stress that we were putting on ourselves. We totally went into that position thinking, "Oh, we can adult." No. And and handling stress, we did not do that the best way. And there was a 36-hour period in February and of when I was 20, and I had gotten to a car accident. My boyfriend at the time lost his job, and I worked at that job too. So I was working, just to give you some context, I was working third shift at a Waffle House, as well as working at this Kirby vacuum cleaner. Like I was the admin, like office manager person. And I was in school at a community college, and I was paying my own rent, living with this boyfriend I had, paying my car note. I had about like $2,000 worth of bills at this time that I had just decided it was a great idea to accrue. And on a monthly basis, while, dealing with all of the current stresses of life. So I was leaving my third shift job at Waffle House on my way home, and I get in this car accident where I hydroplane. My car turns around.
Mm.
I was okay. I got in the accident with nobody else. My bumper just kind of messed up, and I was driving around for the longest with my bumper all messed up in my car because I was so cheap. I grew up so poor. That it was okay. It was okay for me to not have much. And then the next day I go to the job, my boyfriend gets fired, then I quit because I'm not working there if he's not there. Oh my goodness, thank God for growth, right? And then I get the call that my father is in the hospital. And so I go to the hospital, and everybody's in that room that they put you in where when somebody dies. And I
Oh,
go in there and I'm like, y'all are acting like he died or something. My look on death was so different. I felt like I had to be so strong. There was so much ego there too. So this happened in a 36-hour period. I get in a car accident, my boyfriend loses his job, I lose my job, and my dad dies. And then, my aunt starts to like do all the stuff for the funeral, and I have to pay for his funeral, but pay my aunt back for his funeral. Because I was the oldest child and my parents were divorced, and there's no life insurance. There was nothing like that. And so I was in survival mode for a couple of months. So February, March, April, May, June, July. It wasn't until July when my mother told me that I deserved better, that I remembered that I did. Because when I say that it was a toxic and abusive relationship, there would be times where he would um, call my phone over and over again. And if I didn't answer, he would not let me hang out with my friends. He was just so annoying. Like, I couldn't talk to anybody at the restaurants we would go to. I'm friendly. Like, I am out and about. I am an extrovert. Like, I love people. I make conversations with strangers. So I was really losing myself to this guy. And I mean, those are his own insecurities at the time. And I hold no like ill will towards him. I mean, that was years ago. And I've worked through the forgiveness, but it takes a long time to do that. But then I went down and even like I stay with my mom for a little bit, find a new apartment, get a new roommate, or is living with her. He ends up getting evicted out of our place. So I end up with like $4,000 worth of debt
oh,
because of this situation. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm just working and striving and surviving. And it was still, I developed really bad coping skills. And I teach from experience. I teach from experience and then educating myself. But I learned a lot of my lessons the hard way because I was stubborn and I did not want to take advice from proper counsel.
mm,
And I learned then, that I don't know everything. And it was really important for me to for one, get to know myself. So I turned to alcohol after I broke up with this boyfriend and I turned 21 and my dad had died, and I was like finally just dealing with all the things. And I turned to alcohol to numb a lot of my pain. And I gained like from the age of 20, beginning at 21 to 22, I gained like 20 pounds from just drinking all the time. And it wasn't like I went to work drunk or anything like that. That was my recreational activity. Like after work, we'd all go out, I'd drink. It's a great time, no matter how I felt. Um, I was not doing well in school. I was doing horrible. I had to drop classes. And so then it was like, it was my dad's death anniversary the first year, and I was about to take a science test and that I knew nothing about. I hadn't been studying. And so I walk out, I'm like, I'm dropping this class. And I had like begged and gotten the money together to pay for school, and I still wasn't caring. I was like, yeah, I need to take a break. So I took a break. I just started focusing on more important things. I didn't really stop drinking like that, but then I started dating my husband, and I got married to my husband 11 months after dating. And we've been married for, it'll be 7 years in October. But I had been broken up with this other guy for like 2021. I got married when I was 23. So like almost 2 years.
2 years.
And so, yeah, a lot had happened. A lot had changed. And when I moved, because it was a long distance relationship, because my husband's military, when I moved, my coping skills hadn't gotten better. I was still drinking to handle pain, which really isn't handling it. It's avoiding it and suppressing it. And I can look at food and gain weight. So when I tell you that I gained like 40 pounds in the first 2 months of being there, just because I got so depressed, it's true. So at my heaviest, I was like 220. And so that was a battle too, like of just really learning more about myself. And then that's when the personal development started to kick in at the age of right after I got married, started my fitness journey. So I was 23, and I was like, because I was living in a new state, and I was like, I can be anybody else. Like, let me just be myself. And that was the first time that I was like going outside and being out in the sun for long extended periods of time and not being afraid of getting too dark, because I liked the outdoors. But that's a thing. Colorism is a thing in the Black community, and I don't subscribe to that anymore. But that was a thing when I lived in South Carolina. I wouldn't want to go to the beach more than twice a year, just simply because I didn't want to get too dark. But now I don't know. I'm out in the summer all the time, and I'm the one with all the sunscreen because these rays come for everybody. But I understand that, and that was a different growth journey too. And so then like life is getting better. I'm on this is fast forward 3 years. I've been doing personal development. I was at Florida State University. I graduated from Florida State University. This was the first time in my life that I cried over not getting like an A, because I actually cared. And I was actually working hard towards that. And, I graduated and life was good. And then I had lost a lot of weight too. I lost like 60 pounds on my own. And I I hadn't really cut the drink, but I definitely was not drinking the same that I had been before. I was not using that to cope with my skills. I was actually doing the deep work that was necessary. And then a hurricane comes and hits. And at first, like, we were told to evacuate the base, and I'm like, okay, we're going to go on an evacuation because I was so positive at this time. And I was like not understanding the magnitude of what was going to happen. But I literally lost my home and my town that I had lived in for 3 years within 26 minutes. And all I could think is like, well, what can I do? What can I do? And I started stacking gratitude. I was so grateful because with my husband being in the military, like all of our housing and stuff was paid for while we were in this transition. Our food was paid for. I worked at Outback Steakhouse at the time. So I literally, I was like, oh, I can transfer to Atlanta and live in Atlanta for a little bit. They have plenty of Airbnbs there. And I transferred to a location in Atlanta. So I was only out of work for 1 week. And while I was there, I was starting to orchestrate my first fundraiser that I had put on. Well, my friend started putting it on, and then I was like, oh, I'm going to help you with this. So I paid for the event insurance out of pocket, and I had a whole event. It was called the Come Back Strong Project for people back in Panama City 2 months after the hurricane. But my heart posture still wasn't correct during this. And I'm telling you that because it's like when we do things, we really have to ask what our intention is in doing those things. Are you doing it really because you want to help people? Or are you doing it because you want people to know that you're helping people? Like, yeah, I want it to help people, but I also want it to be known for helping people, like, which is like, no, no, that's so inauthentic. That's so, it's so skeezy. Like, it's not, I now don't identify with that, but, um, that was the case. So, but I had news show up. Like I wrote the press release to get the news stations there and everything. And we did do about like we had like $3,000 worth of supplies for people. We gave away gift cards. So it was a cool thing. And I think everybody was under 30 at the time that like had like poured into this whole experience. I had a girl that I met at the Springs one day, and she lived in Chicago. She drove down with a like huge RV full of toys to give away to the kids because it was December around the time that we did this. So we did make an impact, and it was super cool. But I finally get stationed now where I'm at here in the Illinois side of St. Louis, and it took me like 9 months before I realized like I was back in that survival mindset that I just need to get by. My focus was rebuilding my life. So now this is the first time I rebuilt my life was when I was with that boyfriend and my dad died, and I lived with him, and then I stopped living with him and started something else. And then I moved to Florida, and now here in St. Louis, rebuilding my life. And I'm like, okay, I need to do this right. Because when I first came, I was like, I just want to do this and I just want to make money. I'm going to work all the time and make money. And my intentions, no, that still was not right. That wasn't of purpose. So, but one thing that I'm so grateful did happen, my church that I started attending, it was like something that called to me, and I hadn't been baptized. I was born a Buddhist. My dad was an atheist. My grandparents were Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah, that wasn't really like I knew God, and I prayed to him sometimes, but I wasn't where I'm at now. And I now see how he carried me through all of those situations that I was in. And he really, really did a phenomenal job of taking care of me. And after I got baptized, a month later, I got my purpose. And I absolutely believe now that because I went through the things that I went through, and even after getting my purpose of actually coaching and motivating people, it's because I went through what I went through that I can understand and relate to see so many people in so many different levels. You want to talk addiction? Let's do it. You want to talk about, abusive relationships? Let's go. Like you want to talk about hard things and get through them and stop them. Cause I live a sober lifestyle now. I don't, because there was a point in time that I smoked a lot of weed, like I couldn't, I didn't feel like myself unless I did. So there's so much to it, but learning that we can be different, learning that we can become who we really are meant to be and not what other people tell us that we are, learning that we're not our past, learning the deep parts of us that we're uncomfortable about, and being able to ask for help for those things, and going to the right people to ask for help for those things, going to God. If if you are a religious, not religious, but spiritual person, because I'm relationship over religion all day. And I don't care if you call him Allah. I don't care if you call it source. If that's what works for you, good for you. But yeah, and learning that we're always protected throughout everything, and just not to lose faith.
That's a powerful story. You've got a lot going on in there, a lot going on in there. And I'm very, very glad that what you've chosen to do is really to empower females. And I know that you must be doing a lot of work with young ladies as well, especially since, you're like coming up on, maybe your 30s or something like that. So you don't look like it, obviously, but it's just good because there's a lot of young ladies as well as older ladies that need to hear these stories, as well as men, because many times men don't really understand what's going on the other side, when they're dealing with their spouses or when they're dealing with their girlfriend. They may not really understand. And I think that it's refreshing when somebody has the ability to really say, hey, listen, this is what I've been through, and not hide it. And I mean, it didn't sound like you always had that ability. It sounded like that began to
I
become
had so
a
much
part of you.
pride. So much pride. Like I wanted to seem perfect. Like, yeah, no. No, I definitely was not the person to want to share. Like I would share it, but more so like if I can overcome it, other people can, but I have to that still wasn't necessarily the right tactic.
And how did you necessarily overcome that? Walk me through that, overcoming the feeling that, hey, I need to be perfect. When people see me, I need to be perfect. Because I also noticed that between your 20 years of age to your 26, you went back into the survival mode, even though you had overcome something.
Mhm.
Two major things. And the first time was 36 hours of intense pain. And the second time was 26 minutes, and it was like at the end of the day, there was still a piece of it that was left that you had not overcome. And I do think that some of that had to deal with your ego.
Oh, definitely. That and a lot of things. In life, you're going to face battles. I know that I'm going to face so many more battles throughout life, and you're never all perfect or okay, but understanding that all pain is not unnecessary is really important. And we're always becoming, we're always growing and pulling back the layers of the onion that we are already conditioned to be. I think a lot of the ego that I have came from the conditioning of, oh, well, you should be strong. You should be, you should be this way. It's okay to not be strong all the time.
Now, do you think now, especially after you said that, it makes me wonder, was it all ego, or do you think that there was something else that was developed inside of you that was more like a defense mechanism that you were really building up to protect yourself? Because having come from like that history of dealing with the toxic environment and abuse, and you were a fighter. I mean, you said that you were a fighter when you're 20 years of age. It's like, no, you're not going to get over on me. You want to bring this toxic relationship, you want to take it to that level. Well, don't think you're going to put your hands on me because I will punch you back. That's what I heard.
Yeah, that's true. Um, I think I think it's a little column A, column B. Like I think it's some ego, a lot of, and I feel like a lot of ego is defense too. Depending on how you look on it. I've I've been working. God's been working on my heart like crazy, and I think that that's the breaking down the barriers, and loving people like God loves people. That's my new assignment. He he gave that to me a couple of weeks ago, and oh man, that's gonna be that's that's a long one. That's gonna take a long time.
Yeah.
So I definitely think like there's not wanting to allow others to hurt me, not wanting to that's definitely a thing that, I would say I still battle with because I won't allow I have boundaries and I love people and I'm a loving person, but I don't get super attached to people because my view on relationships and people and death is very different than most people. I've lost so many people in my life, and I really think that you should appreciate and love the people that you have while you have them because you don't know when your last moment is going to be with them. I'm so big on like just being in the present and not being so attached, because we don't own anybody, we just experience them. And I heard that from somebody else too, and it was like, so it's a weird thing. The verdict's still out on that, like on my heart wall and all of that stuff, because I'm still diving through that.
That's powerful. One of my philosophies is called "If it fits, it ships," and it's one of these things that teaches the giver as well as the receiver. Whenever you give something, you shouldn't give it unless you're ready for to give it and let it go 100%. Whether it's speaking with somebody or giving your love, it never means that because you give your love that somebody else will in turn love you. And sometimes I feel as if we as people, we feel like because I gave you something, you owe me. And
Mhm.
that really hurts us in the long run. And it's the same way as when we as receivers, whenever we receive something, we feel as if we may owe somebody something because they gave it to us.
Oh,
And
yeah.
breaking that attachment is powerful. You want to say something?
Oh, yes, because I have the hardest time receiving things. And because I've always been the giver, I'm the oldest child. I've always been like doing for others, and I don't mind doing that because I don't the people that I give things to, I don't feel like they owe me anything. I'm not in that position now. Like that's not my how I am now, but it's still something that I have to work on the receiving end, because I've been so big on not receiving things from people because I don't want to feel like I owe them anything. So that's why I'm like, "Oh, wow, this is so like this is," and I love that I could like I love having genuine conversation and finding the breakthrough throughout all types of things. So no, I thank you for actually saying that.
That I love that you mentioned that because so the hand that's open can always both give and receive, right?
Mhm.
And you were mentioning about how you felt like God really turned the tables for you. But it was something else listening to your story about how many different types of struggles and disasters that you ended up going through before you got to the point where you were, if you will, broken enough to receive from someone. And at the time that you received, it was you received from God. And that's who you gave all the credit to. And I applaud that. I love that. But it seems like that may have been part of the lesson that needed to be had.
Oh, definitely. I mean, because I've definitely been stubborn, and when we don't want to face things from our past, we tend to avoid them. And it might just be something so simple, but we don't even want to face it. And I give God a lot of the credit, because there's the majority of the things that I've survived even after the hurricane, after everything, I would not have been able to, like, I attribute my sobriety, like living a sober lifestyle, to God fully. Because when I say that nothing but things that would make a person smoke and drink came up, oh, oh, yes. And so that's what I'm saying. It's not, you're never gonna miss out on the things. It's just, and I think it's something that happened this week too. And I find that when the devil knows that he can't get to you certain ways, he'll find another way to get to you. He'll find another way to distract you. He'll find another way to like just you know, wanna fight with you. And the best way you subdue that is through prayer and standing your ground and being aggressive in your faith and your belief that regardless of whatever battle storm comes your way, you're still going to make whatever your goal is happen.
Beautifully stated. Absolutely beautifully stated. I think that there is a sincere power in that, that you're talking about belief or in faith, because to be able to say, okay, I absolutely cannot figure this thing out. I am banging my head on all these different types of techniques and styles, and I'm doing everything that I possibly can to be able to release something and just say, okay, you know what? All right, God, you just take care of that because I don't know what else to do with it. I don't know about you, but I feel like it's coming from you. I have found, and I call it keep it PG prayer guidance. I have found that in those moments, I have been relieved because soon as I just absolutely let it go and I just get rid of it out of my mind and I say, you know what, he's got it. I don't have it anymore. My hands off the steering wheel. I was messing up anyway. That all of a sudden the answer comes. And I'm like, hold on. Oh, oh, okay. That's what I need to do.
Mhm.
Has that ever happened to you?
All the time, and my word this year is surrender. So I've
Surrender.
really been actively practicing the act of surrendering to God, and that's something that I have to learn. That is something I really have to learn, especially a person that thinks they want to be in control when really we can only control how we react to things. And when I talk about surrendering, so for instance, you when you think nothing else can go wrong, then and you think you're good, and then your pipe bust in your not bust, but your my
Yeah.
water started overflowing in my laundry room one Friday. And I was like, well, great, great. And then I get this the bill, it's gonna like the highest price was like $15,000 to fix this thing, you know? I'm just like, really? Really?
Really?
Really? Like
Yeah.
this is what we're
Right
gonna do?
now.
And it was funny because I was like, I got so scared. I was like, and I acted out of fear. And this was the first time. See, and this is why I say I'm really working on surrendering. I acted out of fear, and I looked on LinkedIn. I'm like, let me just find another job just to make some quick, some money really quick. But it was going to take me off my path, right? And so I apply, and then I start to pray and think about things. And I'm like, no. So waiting on God's timing, that's really hard. That's so hard for people like me, that and I
Oh,
uh I end up interviewing, and I'm like, is this a real thing? Like I didn't even think it was a real thing. And then I get another interview, and then I get hired, and I'm like, hold on, wait a second. Wait a second. Is this from God or is this a distraction? And it really got me thinking. I went to I talked to people, and I prayed about it. I'm like, I don't think this is from God because I acted out of fear, and this isn't really on my path. The job title was transformational coach. So it all was dressed up, and that's what the devil will do to you. He'll dress it up and make it sound right. And then I'm like, 40 hours. I'm like, hold on, I do a lot. I can't really devote 40 hours. And I said, a lot of times we think that it's a blessing in disguise or something that, we think things are blessings in disguise, but really it's us not being obedient to what we're told to do, and we take a distraction from the devil and God turns it around for good. And I've been learning that. I've been learning that. Um, so I told them, I'm like, I can't do this job. And so that was the first time I ever was like, hold on, I'm not gonna make money because of God. Because God told me. So when I say I've really been practicing the surrender thing, because I really go to prayer with the battles and everything, to see if it's really a thing from God or not, then I do, you know.
powerful. You brought us right back to the same thing that we were discussing just a little bit ago, being able to accept something. So then, in essence, what was it? Where was it, if over the last decade, or maybe even longer? Where do you think it was that you felt as if you had to do it all on your own? I mean, do you know that?
Oh, so many different times in my life that I felt like I had to do it all on my own. Oh man. Like I remember one time I was working in a restaurant and I was just so upset with my life at the time because this is when I had like broken up with the ex, but like he got me in like this debt that I had to pay along with paying my bills for my new place and having to make payments and stuff like that for this towards this debt that I did not get myself. But since I signed a lease with him and he wasn't going to pay it, I wasn't going to have that on my credit. So I felt then like I was alone, but I wasn't. So many times because we think that we have to do everything on our own and we don't. Um, but yeah, that, and during the hurricane, even though I wasn't a Christian at that time yet, I never really felt alone. I felt very, very taken care of. And, um, even there was a time that, I had I had a really bad spout of depression. I battled with depression since I was 6 years old, on and off. Never been diagnosed, but I know what it feels like to want to kill yourself. Well, the most recent time I woke up and it was Christmas morning. I woke up. I said, I don't want to be here anymore.
Hmm.
I still talked to God about it. I was still like, I'm a need for you to show up. I'm a need for you to make a miracle. And what he does, he allows you to change your perspective. And so the question becomes, how long does it take for you to change your perspective
Yes.
to no longer subject yourself to the way that things are showing up in your life and
Yes.
having faith that you'll be able to get and become and be where you truly want to be?
Yes. Beautiful question. Beautiful question. I'm glad you said that because, my next question was, how would you give this conversation to one of your clients that maybe they don't have the type of faith that you have, you
Mhm.
know?
Oh, absolutely. I give them multiple resources because I absolutely believe that not everybody has the same type of faith. Um, And I think that that's one of the areas that the church definitely messes up because they'll be like, "Oh, go to God." Well, okay, and do what? And do what? You know? So it's there's I read books. So if a person's that's battling with something, you allow yourself to feel your emotions and you just give it time because all emotions are temporary. All of them are temporary. And slow gratitude works, but it has to be slow. Um, and just being grateful for the little things, like the fact that you have electricity. Because listen, when we got our basic necessities, we forget how uncommon those things are. And
Yes.
when I was at my darkest, I was literally looking at um, people living in slums, and I was still thinking I wasn't doing enough. So it was just like, so I get it. I know what it's like to be in a dark place. Just give yourself time and ask yourself again, how long is it going to change for you to change your perspective?
Mm, mm. Real powerful, real powerful. One of the things that I teach is that sometimes the amount of time that it takes for you to dig yourself into a hole, it'll take the exact same amount of time to dig yourself out, unless, of course, you have a mentor or a coach or someone who can help guide you through the processes and maybe even extend a helping hand. But once again, we have to have that hand open and not shut.
Mhm.
We have to
Mhm.
be able to surrender. I think that that's one of the most powerful things that you have stated today. And you've stated a lot of things that are very powerful, especially I love that you said, grow through what you go through. I think that by far, and you opened up the show with that, was just beautiful. So I hope everyone hears that. Listen, Olivia, tell us, please, how can people get in contact with you? Because obviously, you are a real person, you are genuine, and you have a whole lot of good to give every single person that comes within inside of your range. So, how can people get in touch with you?
Absolutely. You can find me at coach_live on Instagram. You can also find me at Olivia Cook on Facebook, LinkedIn, and coach.live on TikTok. And then my podcast is the Empowered Woman Badass and Unfiltered. And my YouTube channel is Life Hacks with Liv and Relentless Glory. Relentless Glory, all of those things too.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'll be connecting with you on some of those social platforms, whichever ones we're not already connected on. And so what would you like to leave with the audience today?
Keep the faith, keep pushing in and face the pressure. Diamonds are made under pressure. So keep pushing, keep going. And every emotion is only temporary.
Wonderfully said. Well put. And if there's anyone who can say diamonds are made under pressure, I think when they look at your lifestyle and see the person that you've become after so many different things, I mean, you all need to rewind this tape and just go back. Rewind. Yeah, I'm dating myself, right? So people need to go back and listen to the beginning of this episode, and they will be able to see that you are underneath a lot of pressure. And now you're this beautiful, radiant, smart, knowledgeable, wise young lady who is leading a career and helping many people cross the battlefield unalone and without fear. I definitely thank you for being on our show.
Thank you so much, Joel. It was a pleasure.
All right. Well, I look forward to having you again in the future. For now, though, you take care.
Bye.
Once again, a beautiful show here at It Starts With Me. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow. Listen, reach on out. If you want to get in contact with Olivia Cook, because she's a wonderful woman, and I believe that if you get in contact with her, that she will be some help to you. I definitely believe that. I put my stamp on it for all of those that are my followers. I definitely put my stamp on it because she is authentic and she brings the real to the deal. So listen, please remember her. And remember this, peel back the layers of your social constructs. And if you don't know how to do that, check her out. And also, you got to go through what you have to grow through what you go through. Doesn't mean that you don't go through it. You just have to grow through it. So learn how to grow. And if you don't know how to grow, get in contact with her. And if you don't remember how to get in contact with her, look in our description or give us a call and we will make sure that you get in contact with her. Remember, for all of you all out there in Japan, in Australia, in Wales, right around the corner, in the States, wherever you are, in the Philippines, remember, just like it starts with you, it starts with me. Peace.